Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sense of the rapper back in his pajama clothes.
Damn. They probably got more than that, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh,
the fans are gonna come here and they can't get one.
Exactly, that's how it should be.
I purchased my first CD, probably was like 13. You know, so I look at a kid grabbing his first CD, Good Kid, Mad City. Will he still be bumping this, you know, when he's 23? You dig what I'm saying? And I feel it will. He will be bumping it, you know. And a lot of people say it's an instant classic. That's great. You know, I love that. But I want that longevity. You know, I don't want you to be saying it because it's, you know, I'm hot right now. Whatever the quote is.
I heard you're the hottest MC in the game.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, but eventually, you know, most artists, you know, that flame usually burn out. So I'm not really concerned with that as much as everybody else is. You know, I want that longevity in it.
So weird, you know, you like say you're gonna do something and then it actually happens. And then like it happens again and it happens again and you just wonder like, does it run out? Desire, is it hunger? Like, and this right here, I used to talk about this all the time. Like, I always said I'd get one of these, you know, and I got it, man. It's like, when does it stop? You know, does it stop? Why is it happening? Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy to think about. It's surreal.
But I never seen you wild out at all.
There's something to be said for the fact that everybody wants to be the guy with the juice. Everybody wants to be the best because we're doing a form of music where it's complete self-expression. A lot of it has to do with talking about yourself. And with that being said, you know, I think that's where a lot of the confrontation stems from in our genre because, you know, in the times where I'll make a record and then go away, you know, a lot of people say a lot of things, try and state their claim, or when you're not on an album cycle, there's gonna be someone else that wants that spot. So you have to come back with a vengeance always, you know.
Do you?
I like to. I mean, I'm here to win.
You're here to win.
Yeah, 100%.
You like the competitive.
Yeah.
You don't feel like that's just the way it has to be. You want it to be that way. Well, you want to win.
Yeah, I've functioned best under. I've always functioned. I mean, I was the kid that used to not study for his test like unless it was like a night before. I function best under pressure. One. And the thing that's changed about that is I never really used to pass my test back in the day, but I feel like I'm passing
You're passing
my
it a big way now.
I know that that there was a point in time when these guys were my favorites, and they still are, but there was a point in time when they seemed so far from me, like even though I believed in my talent, but they seemed so far away, like they were so good. You know what I mean? And it's reached a level where it's like, now everybody feels like my competition. You know what I mean? That's just being honest.
Yeah.
It no longer feels like things that they do are out of my reach. I know that what I bring to the table is just as special. You know what I mean? Maybe the world don't know, you know what I mean? But I believe now, you know what I mean?
A good artist, a successful rap career is 5 years. That tripped me out. That blew me away. And when I started doing my research on it,
very true.
It's very true. Yeah. You know, as much as we love the culture, it doesn't translate, you know, to continue as far as sales, as far as a business. Everything is so trendy. You know, everybody's on to the next. I did my research on that, you know, and that shook me up. You know, that'll scare you, you know, as much as you love it, it'll come a point in time when you're cold, you know, and you might never get back. Only the few, you know, golden childs really get back, like Busta, you know. Years, Jay, you know, Nas, you know, these people really have something else going on, something special. And I felt that line was a pinnacle line inside that song, gearing up to my first album. You know, should I acknowledge that now, or should I wait 5 years later to acknowledge it when it's all, you know, God willing that it don't be 5 years, but you know, let me think about this now and really soak in the opportunity that I have. So let me go a little bit 10 times harder than what the next artist is doing.
Same way people be like, man, you know, you got to get back on that So Far Gone shit. That was your, it's just like, what is that to you though? Is it, do I have to get back to sounding like that? Or was that a time marker in your life when you were in college dating this girl and you got that mixtape and nobody knew about Drake and now, you know, and and you want that moment back. I can't give you that moment anymore. I can keep giving you great music. We can keep growing. We can keep understanding each other. But it's tough for me to go back there, you know. So as far as like making those statements, I don't know what I was saying about that.
The language. Why the language feel right? You got stun on there too?
No, wait, hold on. I was making a point. Hold on, Elliot, give me a second. Yeah, I don't know, man. Everybody, man.
People want to say like, well, with Kendrick's album and the success he had, do you feel like with like you coming out and Wale and Sean that you're kind of like you type of guys are building a whole new like a new golden age?
We have to because
a new golden age.
We have to because if me, Kendrick, Drake, put it like this: if not us, then who? This shit is gonna die because you can't just keep. And I love you talking to a nigga that loves Jay-Z, loves Kanye West, and loves Nas, but at some point you gotta stop acting like nobody can do it better. Because if you really hold on to that belief, you're never gonna see the niggas that actually might be taking it to another place. You know what I mean? Like if you always praising Michael Jordan and we love Michael Jordan, you're never gonna realize that LeBron James is amazing. Or, you know, Kevin Durant is amazing. Like
it all goes back to LeBron. It all goes back to LeBron.
It all goes back to LeBron.
You should get into a rap battle.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I feel like that's just.
I feel
like those things are of the moment.
You're qualified.
Yeah, no, I'm.
You know
oh no,
like
I'd hold it down. I do. Like I really do this. Like as far as writing goes, and it would have to be warranted because it would be scathing. The bars would be scathing. I can't just do it out of. I can't be the first one. You know, I'm always. You
wouldn't do it for sport ever.
Like just to call someone out.
Like, no, like after Kendrick's thing, you wouldn't. I noticed you didn't really get into that too much. So
I just like I don't know. It just wasn't real to me. It's like I saw him after that, and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people? You know what I mean?
I think it's a sparring kind of sport.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, you know, then let it be real. Then, you know, I mean, because those were harsh words, right? So it's like. You can't just say that and then see me and be like, yeah, man, what's up? Pretending like nothing ever happened. Like, that's not real. To me, that's not like the nature of battling. I mean, there's passion behind it. There's anger behind it, you know, and I personally enjoy making like great music and bodies of work over like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days, you know.
But you seem just now a little irritated by it. No?
Really?
Yeah, just by even saying that those were harsh words, it seemed like maybe it irritated you for a second.
Like someone yelled out Kendrick. It seems like nowadays people want to build Kendrick.
Nobody yelled out Kendrick. You just heard that in your head.
No, earlier.
When you go to sleep, you just hear somebody be like, Kendrick Lamar.
Then now he takes a competitive stance with a verse like Control, and then you said that, you know, he's not murdering you in any platform, but you know that's where that rivalry. That's where people want to try to build. That's if you want to try to build a rivalry. Like, what's your take on that? Do you feel like that they're trying to create a competition that he's not on your level because of your accomplishments? Like, do you feel like they're trying to hype this up and elevate it too much?
Nah, I feel like that's it. It's like, you know, he's the new guy to love, and of course, I mean, rightfully so. He's super talented. You know, he is the underdog that's extremely hungry. You know what I'm saying? And he's doing his thing really well. And that verse was, he's giving people like moments, you know, like that verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now at this point in time? Okay. And then, but it was real cool for like, you know, a couple weeks.
But only one God for all the kings.
It's 2013. Kendrick Lamar reached a new level of success that he had been dreaming about for years after the critical acclaim and unanimous fan appreciation of his album Good Kid, Mad City. He's heading on tour to perform it live across the country in front of thousands of people. Meanwhile, J. Cole is working on his sophomore album, Born Sinner, and the pressure to create a hit song from the label was no longer there. But after seeing the success of Good Kid, Mad City, the pressure to create a classic body of work was. Cole had initially announced his release date as his birthday that year, but on New Year's, he said it would be pushed to later in that year.
Your sophomore album, Born Sinner, coming out January 28th, right?
Nah, it's not gonna make January 28th. It's gonna be a little later than that. I needed more time.
What do you think will surprise fans the most about your sophomore album?
I don't know. You know, I don't even. I don't even know what they're gonna feel. Yeah, I know they're gonna, I hope they're gonna love it, but I don't know if it's gonna be the production, if it's gonna be the stories. I can't tell. Hopefully they love everything about it.
At the top of the year, Drake wins his first Grammy ever for the best rap album of 2012 with Take Care.
Tell us about the ride here. Were you nervous at all? Because,
We were watching it on the iPad, the pre-telecast, and it kept cutting out. And then it just cut right back on for the moment where they're like, and best rap album goes, and they said Take Care, and I almost was like, oh, I didn't, like, it almost didn't even sound like my album. And then we just started going nuts, and we got out literally in the middle of the street, blocked cars, we all hugged. And then when I got back in the car, I realized that I had torn my suit.
Where?
So I stopped at a hotel.
So you stopped at a hotel and sewed it up.
And I told the tailor to meet me there, and she sewed up my suit.
Drake has like a bat phone. He calls and anything comes right away.
I have a button.
And he even took a shot from it.
It says your name on it. Oh, I know what it is. Why? Oh. Careful, the phone is up. Wow. T-shirt. With the t-shirt on. That's great. T-shirt on. Oh my God. Look at this one.
YOLO is everywhere. At this point, the term YOLO had become a cultural meme, and people were literally just saying it whenever they did anything semi-risky. They were just like, well, YOLO. If you were outside at this time, you remember that clearly, and you also remember how annoying it got. And even crazier than that the parody rap group The Lonely Islands tapped Adam Levine and none other than Kendrick Lamar for a rap song called YOLO. The song was premiered on Saturday Night Live in January of 2013. Yes, you heard all of that correctly.
A dependable savings and you're retired with money in your account. Peace. YOLO.
Drake said that the saying was actually created by Rick Ross, but after his song The Motto, it became huge and was associated with him. The same night that YOLO song premiered, Kendrick also appeared on SNL and performed Poetic Justice and Swimming Pools, although Drake was not there. At this point, we really don't know the status of Drake and Kendrick's relationship after their Club Paradise tour and collabs on Kendrick and A$AP's albums, but it's safe to say that as the year goes on, the tension will increase and the chances of their friendship maintaining gets progressively lower as this year goes on. And we learn in 2013 that there are some things outside of everyone's control. I have a feeling this is going to be the best video in the series yet. Welcome to Passing of the Crown, a 16-part YouTube series where I take a deep dive into the big three, their come up, their relationship, and how they progress over the years. My name is Jeremy Hecht. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, go back and start at the year 2009. I will leave the links right here. You have 2009, 10, 11, 12 to catch up on before this video. If you've been following, all I ask is that you hit the like button, leave a comment, and share this with a big fan of any of these artists. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next video. But back to the story. Drake started off the year by dropping his first single of his new era called Started From the Bottom, with one of the craziest and most expensive music videos he had released to date. Of course, there was a lot of discourse about where the bottom actually was for Drake, but regardless, the song became a big hit. It reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became another one of those cultural memes and sayings. Later, it would sell more than 2 million copies within the year. The song was produced by Mike Zombie, which was a different sound and flow than his usual home team production, and this would carry over onto his upcoming album, which sonically was a different direction than Take Care. Let's head over to J. Cole, though, who's finishing up his project Born Sinner. After having success that even shocked his own label with Sideline Story, Cole felt no pressure while working on this album.
I wanted to clarify, it's like the first album was not a disappointment for me, but it was definitely a learning lesson, you know what I mean? And yes, it didn't have that, sales-wise, it killed the game, and it changed the industry, but it didn't have that critical acclaim that I wanted, like Friday Night Lights did. That's really what got that, the warm-up and then Friday Night Lights. But I was so focused on the album, my first album, that I couldn't appreciate how big Friday Night Lights was. You know what I mean? Like, that was critically acclaimed. Like, that was a wave when it came out. But I was so worried about my album, I couldn't appreciate it and say thank you, for that response.
But midway through the album, he did actually get writer's block. And funny enough, he used the book The Artist's Way in order to break that. Jodecii actually recently shared a similar story. I actually started this book recently, and I would definitely recommend it for any creatives out there trying to take their art to the next level.
Your process was different. This time you went back to writing lyrics out in the notepad as opposed to typing up.
I read a book. I didn't read it all the way, but I got enough from it that I needed. It's called The Artist's Way, and it's all about, it's for artists any artist, whatever you do, whatever your creative medium is for like blocked artists. And so about a year into making the album, I had all this incredible material. I was flowing out, like it was flowing like a floodgate, but it hit a point where it's like, it stopped, you know what I mean? I'm like, it was too much, going to the studio was too much pressure. The people in the studio was bothering me, like, yo, why y'all around right now? Y'all messing my vibe up. So I needed to just get away, and I got this book. I don't know how I found out about this book. It just found me.
Word.
And I read it, and one thing it talked about was, it talked about 3 pages a day. It was like your morning pages. And basically what it wants you to do is to wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do when you wake up is you write 3 pages, freehand, nonstop. You can't stop. You have to write the first thing that comes in your head. So you're like, oh man, I'm wearing a white shirt, I need to shower, I stink, went out last night, blah, blah, red pen, anything that comes to your mind. And that's how I got back into writing, and you know what I mean? And that opened up a lot of things. And I realized I like writing stuff down better. You know what I mean? Type. You get so comfortable because you could be in a club or be on the bus and you can just type in your phone a line that comes to your head, but there's something more intimate about writing it down. So when I was reading that book and going through that, that's when I started to reappreciate writing stuff down, because I got notebooks and notebooks full of lyrics, and it's like, I also got a BlackBerry full of notes, you know what I mean? And I just enjoy, it feels more, it reminds me of when I was a kid, you know what I mean?
What else did you do this?
Once Cole was able to break free, a lot of his writing came from this internal battle that he had between good and evil. Even his logo includes an angel with devil horns, a theme that would play heavily within Born Sinner, down to the title and the artwork. Maybe part of the writer's block actually came from him struggling with whether or not he wanted to be open with that duality, and whether or not he wanted to actually admit that he was going back and forth between wanting to have a family life and really settling down and being comfortable with who he is versus becoming the quote-unquote rapper and living the lifestyle with the money and the women and all the things that come with the success. A similar reflection that Kendrick had on Buried Alive after seeing Drake's success early on in the rap game and seeing him as a real superstar with the fame and with the success and everything that came with that for him. Cole said that he played his album for both Drake and Kendrick while he was working on the project to get their feedback. But even though J. Cole dropped his debut album and reached new heights, he still seemed to look at Drake's level of success as something that he still had to attain. Before the album, Cole dropped his freestyle Cole Summer, where he said this: "Throwing thousands in the strip club with Drizzy. Difference is I'm throwing 4, he's throwing 50, Lord forgive me." And while reflecting back on how he felt behind in his position early on in the game, when Drake had hits before him, he said this on the same song: "Play my position the whole while still wishing." A year later, Drake put his key in your ignition, talking about hip-hop as a whole and how Drake stepped into the game as the new superstar at the time. He clearly still saw Drake's success as a level that he wasn't on yet. But to be fair, $4,000 at the strip club is still a solid tip for the stripper, so you don't need to feel bad, Cole. But while Cole may have looked at Drake's success in that way, he had never been more confident in his skill in the music and his rapping ability. And in fact, he got one of the biggest hits of his career that came natural, that he felt really good about, and that he produced with Power Trip. Apparently, he wanted to keep his vocals on the song, but ended up caving into his team, who wanted Miguel to get on the hook, which was a great decision because their chemistry is amazing. The song peaked at number 19 on the Billboard charts and became certified platinum. Speaking of Miguel, Kendrick featured on the remix to How Many Drinks and tore that up. Kaleidoscope Dream, as you can see on my wall behind me, is one of the best R&B albums of all time in my opinion, and one of my favorite albums ever, but let me know where you were when you first heard it in the comments. Kendrick also featured on Schoolboy Q's Collard Greens and Robin Thicke's Give It To You, and Jhené Aiko's Stay Ready. But back to Kendrick features in just a minute. I had already recorded a video about the hottest MCs list and everything that went on with that, so I'm going to drop a part of that video here in the timeline, and I'll see you in a second.
Kendrick, I know you were told we were about to shoot Rap Fix today.
Right.
And sit down and do an interview.
Right.
But that's not necessarily the whole truth. The whole truth is that the MTV Brain Trust got together, as we do every single year, and discussed who was the hottest MCs in the game. Yeah, man. And we went through about 15 of them, narrowed it down to 10. The 10 became 5, the 5 became 2. And you, Kendrick Lamar, are the hottest MC in the game, according to the MTV Brain Trust. Congratulations, man.
It's March 7th, 2013. Kendrick Lamar was just named the hottest MC on MTV's annual list. MTV had been dropping their annual Hottest MC list where they rank rappers based on their influence, impact, lyricism, etc. through a roundtable processing, including people like Sway and Rob Markman. Each list was based on the previous calendar year, similar to the Grammy, so in this case, it was really 2012's Hottest MCs. This year's list included K-Dot at number 1 and Drake at number 5. Just a year prior, Drake was number 2 on that list, and Kendrick was nowhere to be found. Drake was number 4 in 2010 and 3 in 2009, so this marked the lowest he was placed on this list since his entry into the game. And J. Cole was notably nowhere to be found, but we'll get back to J. Cole in a couple minutes. Later that night, seemingly in the middle of the night, on March 7th, Drake released a SoundCloud Lucy that many consider to be some of his best rapping ever. The song was titled 5 a.m. in Toronto. On the surface, the song appears to include topics of your average Drake timestamp record, where he talks about his spot in the game and reflects on how far he's come, but with the context of that MTV list in mind, this song sounds a little different. And there are many specific lines that stood out to me. The song starts with Drake saying, "You underestimated greatly," and then goes on to talk about his statistics. This could be a direct response to the makers of that list, but then Drake says, "Give these dudes the look, the verse, and even the hook. That's why every song sounds like Drake featuring Drake." On the MTV list, this could be a clear reference to actually a few people. In terms of the look, Drake gave Kendrick a huge look on Take Care by giving him his own interlude, as well as taking him on tour and giving him a feature for his major label debut, Good Kid, Mad City. But 2 Chainz, who was number 2 on that list, also benefited greatly from Drake providing him with the hook and a verse for one of his first big solo songs, No Lie. Rick Ross at number 3 also had Drake giving him a hook on Diced Pineapples, a verse on Stay Schemin', along with a hook and a verse on Aston Martin Music. They also appeared alongside each other on some of Ross's biggest moments at that point, including Pop That, Stay Schemin', as well as having him on Lord Knows off of Take Care. Not to mention appearing together on I'm On One. Drake also gave A$AP Rocky a feature alongside Kendrick and 2 Chainz on Effin' Problems, which dropped end of 2012. Drake had given Meek Mill a feature for Amen in 2012 as well, and he eventually, of course, gave Big Sean a verse and a hook on Blessings, but that would drop later down the road. Not to mention that Drake has written for Kanye before, so I wouldn't be shocked if he had written some hooks and verses for Kanye in that 2012 time span or in the years prior. Maybe something that we're unaware of. All that to say, it feels like Drake really felt slighted by this list. But on 5 a.m., Drake's feelings are really made clear when he says this: "F them this year, I made Forbes list. F your list, everything's looking gorgeous." He closes that verse off by saying, "I'm on my King James. I'm trying to win here again," meaning he's aiming for that top spot once again. So that was an initial response. Kendrick's response was actually very similar to the sentiment on Control and was all about competition. Here's what Kendrick had to say when asked about the list and the response from people like Kanye who felt slighted with their position on the list.
It's very important for hip-hop. I love it. I love that they have debates like that. We need that, you know? It's competitive. A lot of people forget out here, you know, even though we're doing these collaborations and stuff like that, you know, and we cool, at the same time, this is still rap. This is still competitive. And I'm trying to compete with everybody, you know, to be the best. And that's how I feel, you know, everybody else should think about it, you know. So when people feel like they need to make their comments, I feel that's needed. You know, you're supposed to feel like you're the best. Because if you don't, you're going to get stepped on. Because there's a jungle out there. You feel me? Yep.
You hear what Kanye had to say about the list?
I heard about it. Yeah. Yep.
Passionate, of course.
Exactly, as he should be. As he should be. Be passionate.
Then on June 22nd, 2013, Drake and J. Cole dropped Jodecii Freestyle, and there's also some references to this very same list on that song. And this time, things felt like they could have been a little bit more direct towards Kendrick. Again, let me know in the comments if some of these felt like Kendrick jabs, or if you think they were just general at the field type bars. I should run a clinic for dudes that think that they winning on some coach 50 M's for a 3-month road trip. Now, this feels like it could be alluding to Drake talking about taking both Kendrick and A$AP Rocky on tour, which if you add it up, it was 67 shows that lasted about 4 months. So that does fit that bar. And of course, Kendrick talks about that infamous conversation where Drake was giving him inside information about the industry and the game, because Drake was the first to really make it on that level of success out of the big 3. He then says on verse 2, "Oh, stop, please stop arguing about who's the best MC. I think everyone would agree they know that you're not." And while this may have been more of a general sub, there was really only one person that it could have been directed towards when they're talking about they know that you're not the best MC, because there was only one person, at the #1 spot on that list. So even if it was kind of an at the field type bar, I think Kendrick was somewhere taking notes and just writing things in his notebook. I'm just as unforgiving as most. You bit the hand, now starve. It's not a joke. I'll hang you with it after I teach you the ropes. Now, again, to me, this feels like it could be an ASAP shot or a Kendrick shot because he seemed to have taken them under his wing, especially on that tour, and probably told them a lot of things about the industry, might have given them lessons about what he's learned when it comes to the music business side of things before they dropped their major label debuts. And again, alluding to what he had done for Kendrick prior with the features and the tour. Now, Cole and Drizzy were clearly talking about this list, at least in their own conversations, because it comes up once again in Cole's verse. Cole says, F your list, you lame and doubters. I'm undoubtedly the hottest, and that's just me being modest. Go check the numbers, dummy. That's just me getting started. And then Cole delivers one of his worst bars ever that actually required an apology, which is now bleeped out in the version on streaming. Which, speaking of streaming, Cole also had a Spotify reference in this verse, and this is 2013, so he was definitely ahead in terms of technology, which he clearly shows that he still is if you looked at what he did with Even and his podcast, or his, Talk with Eve, where they're talking about and reflecting on the career. Cole's a smart guy. But also that showed at that time to me, I think Cole could have gotten away with that line if he wasn't on a song with Drake, but it shows the difference in terms of where both of them were at and how Drake was still the leader in terms of mainstream success, or at least outside of just the hip-hop world. In terms of Cole's response to this list in real time, here's what he jokingly had to say to DJ Drama. And whether or not you believe him about not caring, he clearly did feel something because he put it in the bars in Jodecii Freestyle.
Cole's not on the hottest MCs
Who
list.
the fuck makes the decision?
How you feel about that, man? Because that's the first
Somebody's
time
gonna fucking die.
they left you off the list.
This is some bullshit. DJ Drama.
J. Cole is here.
Somebody's gonna die.
He's got his Dreamville shirt on. And what you think, man? Like, as a lyricist, as an MC, as somebody who's quite relevant in 2013 and as of 2012. And
Well, you goddamn right.
Why did they leave you off the list, Cole?
I don't know, bro. I don't really give a fuck.
And when you hear Kendrick talk in that interview earlier, it's clear that he has a competitive spirit brewing and he's ready to claim that top spot. He didn't shy away from it for 1 minute. So he may have even been thinking about it beforehand, even before this list, but I think hearing those lines from Drake and Cole gave him a little extra motivation to want to take the competitive spirit to the next level and stamp himself as the best amongst his peer group lyrically. Just a few weeks after that list dropped, Kendrick received one of the greatest surprises of his career so far, and it came in the form of a Jay-Z verse. For the remix of Don't Kill My Vibe, Kendrick made the artwork a picture of Kobe and Michael Jordan standing next to each other on the court, which was very symbolic of where Kendrick was at in his career and obviously how he viewed Jay with the utmost respect.
Up in the clouds, thinking my spouse. Rumors on the ground, beating.
Body, that shit.
Damn. Hey, Doug.
That's grimy.
Yeah. Hey, Doug. Mastermind right here, dog. This nigga had this shit for like a week, dog. Top shit. Play that shit for me.
You heard it?
Yeah.
You heard it?
We all heard it. Dog. This is a secret, dog.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, help from the homies on it. That nigga went in. That's crazy.
Kendrick even recorded a new verse to go up against Jay, which was probably a good decision because Jay smoked that. But this was a big moment for Dot, and I think this, paired with the hottest MCs list, did have Drake feeling away. Cole's album, on the other hand, had a release date that he was promoting, but when Kanye West announced that his album Yeezus was going to be dropping a week before Cole, which, again, I do think was probably intentional, based on their relationship, Cole made the very bold decision to bump his album up to the exact same day as Kanye, similar to what Kanye and 50 had done in the past. He even got Jay's co-sign to do so. Keep in mind, Kanye's previous album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, had done nearly 500K first week in sales, while Cole had done 200. People decide, making this into a competitive thing where his fan base could rally behind it. Not only was Kanye dropping that day, but Mac Miller dropped Watching Movies with the Sound Off also. I really do think that this is one of the best days for hip-hop music ever, and maybe even music, period. I remember going to the store that day with my friends, picking up all 3 albums and just bumping them back to back to back. I think I ended up liking Mac Miller's album the best out of the 3 after a few listens, but I loved all 3 albums. Yeezus, of course, was polarizing, but I still did like the album. Where were you guys that day? Did you buy all 3? Did you listen to all 3? What order did you listen? And who had the best album that day? Let me know in the comments. But we weren't the only friends going to the store and buying albums that day. In fact, Drake and J. Cole went to the store and bought up the entire rack of Cole's Born Sinner album at Best Buy.
Damn.
They probably got more than that, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, your fans are gonna come here and you can't get one.
Exactly,
that's how it should be.
This shit whack anyway.
Gotta pick up a French Montana roll, yeah. You got the French.
And ironically, if you look, the album that they purchased first was none other than Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. And Drake picked up the check that day.
On the front though.
We got the Weekend trilogy, I'll buy that.
Yo, so I just want to know, like, who's paying? Because the way my bank account is
It's on me.
set up is like, all right.
He even so casually said that that single purchase of one Take Care album might have had him hit the 2 million mark for Take Care total sales, which was a light flex.
Nah, just let me finish buying these. They need one. They said there ain't no more CDs, man.
We'll give them one. Tell them we'll give them.
We're gonna give y'all a CD in a second.
I need that scan. Man. Fighting reasons. All them shit's gone. They all gone
Shit, we need to restock. Niggas. We need to get on the phone with Columbia.
Period.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. More people bought your album than Kanye.
Oh!
Son.
They bought it more than Kanye. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh! No, that's crazy.
I need the one sale, son. I'm trying to get to 2 million.
Aren't you double? You double already, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go. I think so.
I don't know. Are we?
I lost count. I think I was.
88, 70, yeah.
For real?
Triple eight. How many more you got?
That's 88. 888.
That's a receipt right there.
That's a receipt right there, man. Real.
That's a receipt.
That's
One of the worst albums come out.
The night the album dropped, Cole brought out Drake during his $1 in a Dream show where fans only had to pay $1 for entry, and Drake performed Started from the Bottom.
City, if y'all don't make some motherfucking noise for the man Jodecii.
Listen, I mean, if you got a minute, and trying to keep us the fuck out of here, but if you got a minute, let me explain the theme of the show and shit. We know you got most of the way to tell it. I know they didn't really take you, but
Get me out to the club and say I have, but I can't imagine how, cause I just see my ex girl. That's what I'm talking about. Make some fucking noise for Jodecii. Hold on a second. Okay, hold on. I know what show it is, but it's fun, man. I mean, instead of one, can I get one? I mean, it's fine. Cause it's one? Cause it's this one, man. It's the one, man, nigga. Look, man, this shit so weird that we had to restart it. 8 times second home like a James Harden, money kinda go when you selling at the garden. 4 paparazzi, pour some of that burn, man, go cause you know the shit retarded. Fuck all the fluff when we make it to the bed. Switch your ass really come starting for the bottom, yes, Lord. Let's get started for the
to Toronto in 2 hours and got the crazy shit. Private jet shit, studying on my whole life. Y'all make some noise for Drizzy J. Y'all make some noise for J. Cole. Yeah, I'm sitting in stores. Y'all gotta get that shit right now for real. New York City, I fucking love y'all, man. You know what it is.
Could you imagine paying $1 to see Drake and J. Cole the same night? And I just want to know if any of you guys were at that show or at any of the other Dollar and a Dream shows. I am jealous. I wish I was there, but we can live vicariously through you guys if you tell us the experience below. Kendrick had a feature on Cole's album, but ultimately, fans were disappointed that he only laid down a hook with no verse, but Cole explained it was mostly a timing thing. Kanye did end up outselling J. Cole at first. His first week's sales were 320K to 297K, but that was still a huge look for Cole, and a lot of people loved his album, so it did continue to build buzz, while Kanye's album was maybe the most polarizing of his career besides 808. So by the third week, J. Cole had outsold his former idol. He said, I only get brief moments to appreciate things. I might get a 2-minute thought of like, wow, you really did sell more than Kanye. You currently have sold more records than Kanye West's album, which came out the same day. Then I'm back to focusing on what's next. Cole still seemed like he felt like he was behind and chasing certain things. He said, I don't wake up every day like I got a great status in the rap game. No, I feel behind. I don't feel like I've done enough. This mindset will change completely next year. One of the standout moments on the album was J. Cole talking about how Workout let Nas down because Nas saw him as the next guy to take the throne and take the torch for the next generation, but ended up dropping this commercial single that didn't really fit with Cole's vibe at the time. Cole told this crazy story where he recorded Let Nas Down and then actually ran into Nas in the airport and was on the same flight as him just a few days after finishing recording it, which the only way to describe that is God's timing. But Nas ended up jumping on the remix of the song and letting Cole know that he did make him proud, which was a magic moment for hip hop. I definitely remember exactly where I was during that time. You had Nas and Jay jumping on the remixes of the next generation of stars. Ironically though, it was Jay wanting a hit that ended up letting Nas down about Cole. And Jay is the one who hopped on Kendrick's remix while Nas hopped on Cole's remix, which is an interesting dynamic. And I do think something about that situation may have caused a little bit of tension between Cole and Jay at that time, but I could just be speculating. Drake was gearing up to drop his third studio album, Nothing Was the Same, and releasing some of his best Lucy's yet, including Girls Love Beyonce and Over Here with Party Next Door. Ironically, on that party song, Drake mentions Compton and Nas. He said, but I was there, Nas, Don shit. A couple things sit on my conscience. With that said, look at all we accomplished. Yeah, sure, this ain't Compton, but this ain't a fairy tale land neither. We all lost mad people. The city wild. They gave the task to a purposeful child. Verses start to get a little more personal now. But that's because everybody else sounding so played out, though. Oliver North and the Cut Dolce out, though. So it seems like this could be a slight Kendrick jab, but also pretty subliminal and pretty vague. Let me know if you think those were directed towards anyone. But then he also says this later in the verse, and it seems like it could also align where he says, I'm back boy for real, I'm that boy for real. I got hits, you just a bat boy for real. Again, all year he kind of little bros Kendrick in interviews, so maybe these bars could fit that narrative. He also hopped on the Versace remix with Migos, which was a lot of people's first time hearing about the buzzing Atlanta trio. Not to say that Migos didn't have their own movement going, but I do think that this introduced Migos to a new audience, which I think even Quavo and Offset have talked about in interviews.
The Drake verse on Versace, you weren't out, you were actually locked up.
I was going through real life, so I was like not really understanding and seeing it. But I do remember the first time I knew it was real, I was in the cell. They was doing count like early, like 6 in the morning, and he's singing the song as he do count. Like I didn't tell nobody why I was in there. It was lame. I ain't gonna just be, yeah, bro. And I almost cried, bro. I felt so sick. I'm like, oh, I got it by here.
He also dropped Emotion, which Cole showed love to, and of course, Jodecii Freestyle with J. Cole himself. It seems like Cole and Drake spent a lot of time together around Cole's album release, and I think they had a few conversations, including a few conversations about the hottest MCs list. At least that's what I think based on the bars we heard. Because Drake told Cole that he was dropping a group of songs in a few days, and he said he needed a verse back from him ASAP, which ended up being the Jodecii Freestyle verse. I personally think Drake had the better verses on that song. Let me know your favorite verse on Jodecii Freestyle. Drake was gearing up to drop his third studio album, Nothing Was the Same, and he dropped his most pop-heavy single yet, Hold On, We're Going Home. Here's what he said about the intention behind that song.
We love Hold On, We're Going Home, but what is that song about? Like, Drake, no,
I've been asking Twitter, I've been asking everyone, what do those lyrics mean? Where's home? Where you go? Like, what's going on? I don't know. I'm being real. I don't know.
Well, in my life, what's your name, by the way? What is it? Nikki? Yeah. Ironic. No. In my life, I'm at a place where I can't offer somebody that I'm with that much right now. I'm so dedicated to this. I'm so committed to this room, that I can't really offer somebody the nurturing and the dedication and the loyalty and the consistency that it takes to maintain a relationship. Or, you know, I can build with you, but I don't know if I can give you what, you know, somebody that's not in my position can give you. So for me, what that hook means is like, you know, just hold on. We're going home. Just give me a second. I'll be there soon. And then, you know, a lot of it for me is also the juxtaposition from the female perspective is just like the line that sticks out to me the most is like, you know, you're a good girl and you know it. You act so different around me. I don't know why everybody, you know, there's something to be said for seeing potential. You know, I've seen potential. Those are all my best friends in the world right there. I've seen potential in women that they've told me are no good. Straight up, you know, like they've told me, but maybe I see something in them. Maybe our relationship is exciting. So with that being said, you know, it's sort of like me talking to a woman, but also me talking to myself. You know, that's really how I put it.
Apparently, they had a huge camp of producers and writers with actual tents inside the studio so they could sleep there while working on Nothing Was the Same. And here's how Majid Jordan gave Drake the song.
Wow, and so did they just say straight up, we love this song, we think this would be a great song for Drake? And I know this sounds crazy because of what it did for your guys' life, but for a lot of artists, it's hard to give up a song, even if it's for a big star, if you wrote it and you loved it and you knew it was great. So tell us about that part of it.
Well, so the song wasn't something we just had ready and prepared and they heard. It was like we got back to Toronto and they were just starting the beginnings of Nothing Was the Same in 2013. So they basically put us in a studio, and it was like a studio camp almost. There were tents in there. There were like people flying
beats.
in. Yeah,
Make
beats. Stay in the dungeon. Don't leave.
Like,
You cannot leave.
Literally tense. Literally
you can't tell anyone you're working on this project.
We met like so many people that we now work with and collaborate with.
Yeah,
it was just crazy. Like
was,
there was actually tents.
Yeah,
like,
there are tents in the
tents.
studio. People were capping it. I
Real
slept in a
the
tent in
vocal
the
boost,
studio.
Everything. Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
So yeah, we're making beats for like a few months, and we eventually get to make Hold On. I write the words over a beat that's produced by this guy Paul Jeffries, really talented producer, goes by 1985. He also produced Hotline Bling. And it was like R&B, slow, jammy, you know what I mean? Jordan heard the idea, loved the melodies and the words, and was like, okay, I can speed this up and like, you know, give it that like 4 on the floor almost feeling, like beef it up a little bit. So we did, and then we put it on a USB for Drake to drive home to one night. He drove home, we showed up the next day, and he had tracked it. And they're like, we love this song. You know, this is the one. And 40's sitting there with his arms up in the studio, and he's like, we got it. We've got the single. We did it. You know, and we're just like, we're like, okay, great. This is amazing. Like, we don't really know what we did. We gave you this yesterday, and now we're here, and everyone's happy.
There's been a lot of like 24-hour life-changing Majid Jordan moments.
Yeah, so
like,
that
everything is just within the span of 24 hours.
It's just like
changes.
your whole day changes, you know? So,
but things completely shifted when Kendrick dropped a little verse known as Control. And this isn't just for the big three, this is for the entire rap game. It's crazy how one verse can F up the game. It's August 14th, 2013. Big Sean releases a song featuring Jay Electronica and Kendrick Lamar called Control. And on that song, Kendrick had what I say is the most impactful verse in hip-hop history because of the impact it would later have and continues to have years later. But even if you don't want to give it that, you do have to admit it's one of the boldest and most interesting verses, at the very least from his generation, if not ever. That was the moment that Drake and Kendrick's friendship became rocky forever. Kendrick name-dropped who he saw as his peer group and said that he wanted to take the top spot from them, going as far as to say that he didn't want to hear another noun or verb from them, and I always wondered how he feels about adjectives. Bad joke, back to the video. He also makes the claim that he's king of New York in a reference to a corrupt bar, which clearly upset a lot of people from the East Coast.
Nah, honestly, I didn't know it'd be so much speculation behind it. Just want to rap. You know, if anybody that know me doing music, I wanted to rap.
So people kind of was like, man, he's saying he the king of New York.
I think that's the case right there. I maybe had to dumb down my lyrics just a little bit. People that actually understood it and got it was the actual kings of New York. It's not about actually being the king of whatever coast. It's about leaving a mark as great as Biggie, as great as Pac.
Let's focus on the impact of the big three for now. Apparently, Drake did see Kendrick the next day at the VMAs, and according to him, it was all love, which seemed to upset him. And apparently, he felt a way about it and wanted it to be real tension or don't rap and mention his name at all.
Where does that come from? I think I don't give people enough to talk about. I don't know if I Yes. make enough slip-ups or enough mistakes. So I think that Right. stories have to be, created out of thin air sometimes. And I think that's one of those things. That
You
it's
should
like,
you should get into a rap battle.
yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
I feel like that's just.
I think
I
you-
feel like those things are of the moment.
Yeah, but you're qualified.
Yeah, no, I'm.
You know
oh
what
no,
I'm saying? Like
I'd hold it down.
You'd be enjoyable.
Yeah, but I do like I really do this like as far as writing goes, and it would have to be warranted because it would be scathing. The bars would be scathing. I can't just do it out of. I can't be the first one. I'm always
You wouldn't do it for sport ever.
like just to call someone out.
No, like after Kendrick's thing, you wouldn't. I noticed you didn't really get into that too much. So
I just like I don't know. It just wasn't real to me. It's like I saw him after that, and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people? You know what I mean?
I think it's a sparring kind of sport.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, then let it be real then, I mean, because those were harsh words, right? So it's like, you can't just say that and then see me and be like, yeah, man, what's up? Pretending like nothing ever happened. Like, that's not real. To me, that's not like
So you
the
wouldn't-
nature of battling. I mean, there's passion behind it. There's anger behind it, and I personally enjoy making like great music and bodies of work over like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days, over
But you
like,
seem just now a little irritated by it. No?
Really?
Yeah, just by even saying that those were harsh words, it seemed like maybe it irritated you for a second. Is that wrong?
No, it's just like, I mean, coming from that situation, it was unexpected. I wouldn't like. It's sort of like in working your way up and sort of building relationships. I wouldn't expect you to like throw all the relationships out the door for the sake of, like I said, being like the talk of the internet for
Right.
10 days, and then it's like now this like everyone's gonna forget about. I mean, people don't even care about it anymore.
So
but,
true.
But now, especially this week, it's like, yeah, okay, moving on. Like, I don't know if it was worth it, because there's a lot of people that were mentioned that I feel like can't really go back and fuck with that guy after
Right.
that. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I shouldn't have cussed.
No, it's okay. I
But-
enjoy it. Get into
yeah.
it, Drake. Go.
But nah, that's
People think you're too nice. That's the problem. You gotta curse a little bit
Nah,
more.
but anyway, I mean, for me, it was cool. I feel like the verse was great, and I understand what he
As
was
a
trying to
fan,
do.
I would enjoy a Drake and Kendrick kind of sparring
yeah,
session.
well, I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
would. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? You want me to lie to you about this?
No, that's good. That's
It's
good.
the
I
truth. It's my
understand it.
truth.
I understand it. I never thought Kendrick, but there's a couple other people I thought would have called my name by now that I never did. But
Oh, is that what you're waiting for, the name call?
I'm waiting for it. I'm ready for it. Not
Ooh.
waiting for it, but I'm ready for it.
Nice.
I'm not the guy, but there's a reason why they don't call my name. I'm not the guy. I'm not the one.
I like when you talk crazy, Drake.
I'm not talking crazy. I'm being honest.
I know. I like that.
I'm not the
I
one.
think people think you're nice, too nice.
Oh, I am a very nice guy. That's how I was raised. I'm a cordial, very nice guy. I don't like confrontation, but I'm also not the guy, especially when it comes to rap. I'm ready.
Talk that shit.
But I'm just ready. That's
Talk
just
it.
real. I mean,
Drake said, "It just sounded like an ambitious thought to me. That's all it was. I know good and well that Kendrick's not murdering me at all in any platform. So when that day presents itself, I guess we can revisit the topic. 2025, it seems like a good year to revisit that." Drake says he was less upset about the verse and more upset about the timing of the verse because he had an album to promote and felt like at this point, now he has to address this verse in every interview. But my thing is, if it was so meaningless and was gonna not be remembered a couple weeks from now, then why was there a need to address it? unless it was actually an impactful verse beyond the moment. And it does appear that Drake took things personally. If you look at this interview with Elliott Wilson for his Crown series, which I consider one of his best interviews ever, but also one of the most impactful interviews in terms of his relationship with Kendrick because of how he reacted when Control got brought up. Just listen to what he says and you guys let me know what you think.
Like someone yelled out Kendrick.
Nobody yelled out Kendrick. You just heard that in your head.
Now he takes a competitive stance with a verse like Control, and then you said that he's not murdering you in any platform, but that's where that rivalry. That's where people want to try to build. That's if you want to try to build a rivalry. Do you feel like that they're trying to create a competition that he's not on your level because of your accomplishments?
He's the new guy to love, and of course, I mean, rightfully so. He's super talented. He is the underdog. He's extremely hungry, and he's doing his thing really well. And that verse, he's giving people like moments. That verse was a moment to talk about. Are you listening to it now? Okay. And then, but it was real cool for like, a couple weeks. But like, if I asked you, for example, like, how does that verse start?
No, if you remember,
it'll go on in Complex and Rap Radar, give it like verse of the millennium and all that shit or whatever. Or maybe it was you that was like, is Kendrick Lamar your biggest competition like in this generation or whatever? Yeah. And I think that Kendrick has like the utmost potential, man.
In that same interview, he also says that he's waiting to see if Kendrick will have consistency, hits, and bodies of work before he can really consider him competition.
When it comes to competition, I'm more worried about consistency. I'm more worried about bodies of work. I'm talking about hit records.
Which is actually very funny when you see how things turned out and in terms of Kendrick's bodies of work being considered some of the greatest albums of all time. Not to mention the one thing that really ended up winning that battle was a hit song. But in a lesser known interview with Power 106 and Big Boy at the time, listen closely to what Drake had to say when asked if he would be working with Kendrick Lamar again.
When you heard your name, did you feel like, man, like that was kind of disrespectful? Or did you feel like, our names were just kind of thrown in there? And
I feel like he made a decision, you know what I'm saying? And it was a decision to make. He was like, man, I'm either going to go for this moment because I know it's going to be a big moment, or I'm going to like take heed to the fact that I have real relationships and I'm going to like not do that. I'll be real, like I thought of doing that before. I thought like, man, it would be crazy if I just went off on everybody, but it's just kind of like, where does it really get me? Then what? Then every time I rap, people are going to expect me to be confrontational, and when I'm not, then it's not entertaining. You know what I mean? It's like, it kind of puts you in a box a bit. So
I don't think that put Kendrick in a box.
I don't know if I necessarily respect it. We all make decisions. I'm sure he'll be good. He's talented as you know what I'm saying? He's going to have another album and another opportunity to take the world by storm. So he'll be all right, you know what I'm saying? Even if it doesn't feature, any of the names that he mentioned, which it probably won't, to be honest with you. I don't know who's going to go back from that and be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's link up and nah, you know what I'm saying? But he'll be all right. He's a talented dude.
Does it make you like not want to collab with him?
Yeah, I'm good right now, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just about this album and me, and I don't know necessarily if I feel like 100% like I'm not like, man, send me some, let's work. Like, nah, not really. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and shout out to Letty, who's a great interview, who was the one who asked that question and who was the one who was giving the pushback about Kendrick in that interview. But remember when he said he doesn't think any one of those people would work with Kendrick again? Well, he was partially right. And before I get into that list, I think it's also really funny how Kendrick calls back to this interview on Euphoria when he says,
you don't want to work with me no more, okay.
That was my best Kendrick impression, sorry. But Drake was partially right here. It kind of took a hold of Big Sean's promo run for his album Hall of Fame, and Jay Electronica's verse lived after Kendrick, so most people still have never heard it. I always say that if you were a DJ, you could drop a world exclusive premiere of Jay Electronica's verse on Control today, and people would be like, wait, this is a pretty dope verse. This is actually really good. When did this just came out? And I have a feeling Jay Electronica maybe harbored some resentment from that, and there's hints of his back and forth with Kendrick that we never really fully got to see. But
put some Kendrick on. Nah, other than cartoons and cereal, we don't know what these niggas talking about. We don't know what these lames is talking about. We gonna control you in a minute. We don't know what these lames is talking about. Kendrick will body you. Look, you couldn't pay Kendrick $1 million. Kendrick wouldn't tell you. Kendrick could tell you himself he couldn't body me. Kendrick is my son. Kendrick is my baby. Kendrick wishes that he could be me.
Jay Electronica is set to have 16 more albums coming out soon, so maybe there's going to be bars on there for Kendrick. Who knows? Or maybe it will be about God and UFOs like we've seen so far. We never saw Kendrick do a verse with A$AP, Meek Mill, or Big Crit again. He's been cool with Tyler for a long time, but no music. Mac Miller did work with Kendrick, even though he did have to trick him into doing the collab. Kendrick was recording radio drops at Mac's studio, but Mac had an instrumental ready for Dot.
He was about to leave the studio. He had like the headphones on. I told the engineer just to like put the beat on the Pro Tools. Like, he was literally walking out and heard the beat, and he got right into creation mode.
You tricked him to do it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I always tell people, if you're speaking to me and do not have music playing, in my head it's like, so I figured that he would be the same.
Of course, him and Cole had a song on Born Sinner where Kendrick did the hook, and they did the Black Friday thing where they rapped on each other's beats, but there was never another official song where they both rapped together, which is interesting. Even the Jeezy song with them both on it, they didn't both rap verses. We never saw them actually rap alongside each other, besides the collab project that never came out. Why do you guys think that is? Let me know in the comments. One man who did jump to reach the bar of competition that Kendrick set and didn't shy away from it at all was none other than Pusha T. In fact, Push said Kendrick thanked him for fully understanding the mission he was on during Control, unlike some of his other peers.
You know, the Control thing, man, like, you know, as soon as he saw me, he said, yo, thank you so much for just, you know, for understanding and not taking the verse the wrong way.
I like that.
And I was like, Kendrick, you don't know I'm different, bruh. I understand. Like, I listen to rap.
Right.
I understand.
It's the sport of hip hop.
It's the sport. It's the sport of hip hop. And I looked at it like, man, you know, he shouted out his peers. And he was like, yo, you know, I want to take something from your fan base, Mac Miller's fan base. You know, I want to take all of that. When is that not the mission?
Which, to me, a lot of the rap battle that we ended up seeing could have been avoided had people really just taken into consideration what Kendrick was attempting to do and understood that he was really trying to light a fire under his peer group and raise the bar of competition. If Drake saw things like Pusha did, we might have avoided that battle altogether. But like Kanye said, I guess we'll never know. But you can tell that Drake felt slighted. He almost looked at Kendrick as his little brother who he didn't want to fully spend any time on, and he saw Kendrick as still somebody who had aspirations of reaching where Drake's at. Like he said, he was hoping to get on Kanye's level. But the thing about it is, they're in the same generation, whether Drake liked it or not. They were peers at that time, and the people mentioned in that verse were their peer group. And this is also always a bit confusing to me. And I honestly don't think that Drake needed to take this as personally as he did. If you look at, in a second, some of the other artists that were mentioned and how they took this verse and how they reacted and they responded, we might not see this battle in 2024 had this been received differently from Drake. And also, you can look back at my videos 4 to 5 years ago when I speak about this, and I have the same opinion now as I did then. But don't get it twisted, Drake is extremely competitive, and it comes out in some of these other interviews. You can tell that he still wants that top spot, that he cares about how he's viewed, that he has a competitive nature innately within him, which is why I was a bit confused when you look at the other interviews as to why he took it so personally, when it's clear that he has his own competitive spirit.
What about the aggressive thing? You said this is a more aggressive record. Some people talked about the confrontational lyrics. Even the record starts off with Tuscan Leather. It's a pretty hard, old school rap song. You know, there's a superficial reading of the confrontational part of this record that says, this guy's doing so well. Just what you described, but even more, the material success, the #1 record, all that. What's he got to be confrontational and aggressive about?
That's just kind of the nature of rap and hip-hop music. People have to understand that, you know, it's a very unique genre in that regard. That
confrontation is inherent in the art form?
I believe so, yeah. Competition is inherent in the art form. Confrontation just kind of comes with the territory. And there's something to be said for the fact that, you know, a lot of people talk that talk and you know, just do it because that's what hip hop is about. Well, I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna talk like I'm the biggest dog, but I'm not. I'm actually the one guy, the young guy, the one young guy that can really step up to the plate and talk my game, and I check out. You know, if you choose to go and research, I check out. So that was one thing that I understood on this record. Like, you know, I'm not gonna play this humble, you know, sort of shy, like new guy, like happy to be here role this time around. You know, I've put in enough work, and I plan to put in as much as I need to moving forward. And I wanna make that known. You know, I'm here.
And again, maybe there's a lot more that happened because it can't just be this verse that got him feeling this way. There must have been something else that happened around this time, whether it be on the Club Paradise tour or something else besides this that we don't know about that maybe will reveal itself in time. But besides Drake, Control got a lot of responses. Many of them were from people not mentioned on the song, probably felt slighted as to why they weren't considered part of the peer group, like Joey Badass or B.O.B. And then people from New York were responding. Joe Budden gave a verse, as well as people who just feel like they're the best rappers in the world. Example, Cassidy, King Los, and even Kevin Hart got involved.
Dropper. Kendrick Lamar, you don't want this work. I body people in bins bigger than pots and dirt. I got porta potties in the dugout. First base, coming to my place, that mean you want to chase me? Drop.
And at first, I didn't think that J. Cole really felt a way about it. I thought he took it as competitive like some of these other people. But after an episode of The Bigger Picture where I claimed that J. Cole defended Kendrick from Diddy at a party, not like that, Top Dog told DJ Head the real story of what happened that night, and it's not what a lot of people think. J. Cole hadn't seen Kendrick since the Control verse, and the first night out was a Diddy party after the VMAs where Kendrick was taking a victory lap in New York, wearing a New York fitted cap, right after claiming to be the king of New York from LA and juggling both coasts. J. Cole had gone up to Kendrick to ask him what the Control verse was really about and how he didn't give him a heads up on the verse coming, and apparently things were getting a little bit tense, like, yo, what was this really about? What's going on here? And Kendrick was explaining that it was purely competition and just rap, like he said in interviews, but this was at the club, so it was probably loud and a lot going on. And on top of that, that's when Diddy came over and agitated the situation, unsurprisingly, probably drunk and pushing Cole and asking him, yo, you gonna let your man talk to you like that? Yo, you gonna let him say that on the track? You gonna let him say that in the song that he's the best, he's better than you? Yo, you gotta rap back at him. You gotta get on the track. You guys should go at it. You guys should. And apparently swung on Diddy. I guess he was ahead of his time. Maybe he felt a dark energy over there anyways. And Punch confirmed the story last year on the R&B Money podcast, and apparently Cole and Diddy had a prior back and forth almost altercation at the club before Kendrick was anywhere near this situation. But he added a couple of crazy details, including this one about a bottle.
Another one of the homies walk up, he a little drunk. He said, yeah, y'all niggas, y'all need to just go back and forth and keep it on wax or whatever. So the two dudes who approached, they get into a little back and forth, a little argument. What we didn't know is they had gotten an argument before we got there. So they was kind of continuing it. So, okay, things settled and we go to the VIP. So in this VIP section is literally the front row of the Grammys. In this one section.
Yeah.
And it's four of us. We in there like we in there fans almost like, yo, that's
yeah.
So the homie that got into it with the other one, he's sitting 2 steps down from me on the couch. So it's somebody right here, I'm right here, the rest of us, and then so the nigga came back to him. The ones who got an altercation earlier, he's like, yeah. And if you ever say what you said to me earlier, nigga, and he grabbed a bottle from the table because he got all of the alcohol choice. And he said, what you gonna do? Hit me on my head with a bottle? He's like, nah, I'm gonna break it on the table, I'm gonna cut your throat. So it's like a movie.
Right.
Like, ooh. So it's getting right. So it's getting intense. So the nigga standing on the ground, reached up and tried to grab dude by the neck. So dude reached around and fired on him, and they both fell on the table, knocking all the drinks over. So all these celebrities just in this one spot. It's a scuffle now, huge scuffle. So this just sound weird with no names, but another nigga came who was best friends with one of the super celebrities that was over there. He came and started beating up one of the niggas that was on the ground. So it's kind of clearing up, and he grabbed the nigga, put him close, and seen who it was. And this dude was signed to his his homie.
But that to me, let me know that Cole was feeling extra competitive in terms of he wanted that spot just as much as Kendrick and Drake wanted it. And he also did feel a way about the verse at first before that conversation with Kendrick. You can clearly hear it even in the music. It does seem like J. Cole and Kendrick remained friends throughout this whole thing, but he does eventually reply to the verse with his thoughts on this Justin Timberlake TKO remix. And he's referencing a woman that he's dealing with who ends up playing the Control verse. He says, "Thought you was a down-ass B till I found that a couple days ago. I was home alone. Next thing I know, that long-ass verse from a song called Control was on. The room got near. The tune got clear. That's when I seen that playing on your phone. Girl, what is that, a ringtone? Not you too. Man, that hype done got you too. Everybody and their mama gassed. Even my mama asked me what I'ma do. Decisions. In case this is war, then I load up on all ammunition. If someone wants problems, my trigger's on auto. I'll make sure that nobody miss him. Now pack up your you don't believe in me? I don't need you. I got me." So clearly here, he's referencing how he felt like he was ready. Like, yo, if this is real, if this is serious, if this is like a direct shot, if you want to compete like that, I'm ready to go on a track, which is interesting if you fast forward to 2024 and Kendrick dropping the Like That verse in a similarly competitive manner to this. But then he also references how he never leaned on his mentor or his boss for his success. He said, "Got a record deal and a college degree, 2 gold plaques, I produce all the tracks, and I never ever leaned on Jay-Z. And after all that achievement, real dude never even went and got his teeth fixed. Now you try to play me, play me, I ought to knock your ass out." And then he sounds like he's like super upset at the end. It's funny he references getting his teeth fixed because Crooked Smile becomes a single for J. Cole off his Born Sinner album, where he kind of embraces his flaws and talks about how his teeth are crooked and he doesn't have the perfect smile, but that part of him is something he's embracing, and that even though his smile is crooked, he's still proud of it. And that TLC song was super dope, became a big song off that album. And later you'd hear Cardi B kind of make a similar reference, but instead she got a bag and fixed her teeth. When asked about it, Cole said, "That's rap, man. That's rap, man. That's a part of the game. It's natural. It's fine." But as we know, anytime someone says it's fine, sometimes it is not fine. But here he does sound more upbeat about it and says that Kendrick is his man and that their collab album is hopefully still coming out at some point.
A bit after he dropped the Control verse, and
Uh-huh.
he spoke of the collab album.
Yeah.
And there's no bad blood. Y'all are still friends.
Yeah,
And
that's
just
my man.
collab album with you and Kendrick, the new Detox.
No, I think I don't know. Like, I'm sure that we're gonna do it. We
It's
wanted
been
to.
for like 2 years.
No,
like,
we wanted to.
But Kendrick did get responses from people actually on his list in the form of songs like Meek Mill's Ooh Kill 'Em and Big Crit's Mount Olympus, which might actually be my favorite Control response. Big Crit needs more credit too. And most people just took it as competition. Wale seemed to not take it too seriously and understood the messaging.
I think people are just taking this shit the wrong way. Like, he said my name. Like, he said a couple people's name, and he said he's the best rapper. I say I'm the best rapper every song I'm on. I just don't say nobody's name. It's like implied. Like, he just did it a different way. So, you know, niggas gonna say what niggas gonna feel how they feel. Like, whatever. Like, I got music coming out too, my nigga. Like, we all have music coming out.
Just want to ask him about Kendrick's verse real quick. You know it's causing all kinds of controversy right now.
I'd been offended if my name wasn't in that.
And same with Pusha T, he saw it as respectful competition. The two even did a song together that year, which I think was linked to Control. I made a video about that, so I'm going to insert a piece of that here. In fact, Push said Kendrick thanked him for fully understanding the mission he was on during Control, unlike some of his other peers.
You know, the Control thing, man, like, you know, as soon as he saw me, he said, yo, thank you so much for just, you know, for understanding and not taking the verse the wrong way.
I like that.
And I was like, Kendrick, you don't know I'm different, bruh. I understand. Like, I listen to rap.
Right.
I understand.
It's the sport of hip hop.
It's the sport. It's the sport of hip hop. And I looked at it like, man, you know, he shouted out his peers. And he was like, yo, you know, I want to take something from your fan base, Mac Miller's fan base. You know, I want to take all of that. When is that not the mission?
On October 7th, 2013, just 2 months after Control was released, Kendrick was featured on Push's solo album, My Name Is My Name. And what Drake asked Elliot was, do you remember the first line of Control? And while you probably couldn't remember it off top, Kendrick made sure you remembered that
I don't smoke crack, motherfucker. I sell it.
line, which a lot of you guys watching probably have remembered since you first heard it. He made sure that on this verse, The first line was memorable. You want to see a dead body? Which is a hilarious way to start off that verse. Pusha T said that Kendrick recorded this feature verse prior to Control dropping, with the video shooting afterwards in LA.
He recorded it prior to Control. Then Control came out.
If Control came out first, would it have changed anything?
No, like we just shot the video for Nostalgia. I actually went to Compton, 134th in Piru. And you know, chill with the homies.
Okay.
Met Kendrick's family, his
Nice.
friends.
But I think that Kendrick had already had the Control verse written and ready to go around the same time that he wrote this verse, because the sentiment around the time of this interview he did in reaction to the Control verse was all about competition.
It's very important for hip hop. I love it. I love that they have debates like that. We need that. You know, it's competitive. A lot of people forget out here, you know, even though we're doing these collaborations and stuff like that, you know, and we cool at the same time, this is still rap.
And I truly think Kendrick thought this would elevate the competition amongst his peers with that verse. I mean, he literally says in the line after the name drops, "What is competition? I'm trying to raise the bar high. Who trying to jump and get it? You're better off trying to skydive." I mean, he does then go into a 12-bar extended metaphor about how nobody can actually reach the bar, but I think his intention was to light a fire under his peer group and make rap as competitive as he once knew it to be. But that's not even the best connection here. The last line in the verse reveals that the entire time, Kendrick is telling his dad that his verses are crack and that he's closing the loop from his Control verse where he is selling it. He said, "Son, how come you think you could be my connect?" I said, "Pops, your ass is washed up, with all due respect." He said, "Well, then show me how it all makes sense. Go figure, mother. Every verse is a brick, your son dope." On Control, the next bar after the
I don't smoke crack, mother, I sell it.
is "Everything I rap is a quarter piece to your melon." So it's a clear connection, and I bet these verses were written around the same time, and this was purposefully done. If you've seen the Dissect video about this Kendrick verse, every number in that verse was intentional, so I have a hard time believing that every line in Control wasn't as intentional. Kendrick first used this metaphor of his verses being like crack back on Kendrick Lamar OD, where he said,
"This shit is so dope, you might want to be my crack."
So Kendrick has been thinking about this metaphor for a long time. Pusha T, when talking about the verse in 2013, said this about Kendrick: "He's like the voice of the new generation," a title which Drake had often referenced for himself. And Pusha at this point had already thrown shots back and forth with Drizzy, so I have a hard time believing that he didn't say those words purposefully to get under Drake's skin. But it's interesting looking back that Nostalgia was kind of a foreshadowing to a lot of the things that we see today. But Mac Miller had the funniest reply. But this verse would do more damage than Drake initially thought. He thought it was just this spur of the moment thing and it was going to be over within a week, because it did end up leading to an actual back and forth between them. Nothing Was the Same drops on September 24th, 2013. And on the album, we heard the back and forth escalate a bit. On the song The Language, Drake raps this, and it appears to be directed at Kendrick. "I don't know why they've been lying, but yours is not that inspiring. Bank account statement just look like I'm ready for early retirement. F any dude that's talking just to get a reaction. F going platinum, I look at my wrist and it's already platinum." Basically saying he's already there. He's already got that success, and Kendrick is just trying to catch up to him in his mind. He's also saying they're gassing you up. Your album, your verse, your rapping isn't that good. You're not the guy. They're just telling you that. Even though Drake did say that Good Kid, Mad City was the last great conceptual album earlier that year in an interview. And also when he says talking that just to get a reaction, he's basically saying like Kendrick is just doing this for attention. Kendrick just wanted people to talk about him with this verse, even though he is giving a reaction with this verse. "I am the kid with the motor mouth. I'm the one you should worry about. I don't know who you're referring to. Who is this dude that you heard about? Someone just talking that bullshit, man. Someone just gave you the runaround. People downplaying the money, but that's what you do when the money down." He's basically saying you're trying to just get a quick check off of this, and you talk about sales doesn't matter, numbers don't matter like that, but that's what you do when you're not at my level. He also refers to himself as the kid with the motor mouth, and that is interesting because motor mouth will come back later in another verse, and so just remember that bar because there is a response to that later by Kendrick. Then he says this: "I'm about to roll one and light it, and F it, man, no one's invited. I gotta kill off the weak that's got all you dudes excited. I can't even listen, you wildin'. I'd much rather sit here in silence. I send all my money to banks in the islands and eat with Italians I do. People are funny, you don't even know about the shit that I've been through. I just want some head in a comfortable bed. It could all be so simple. Talking that with your back to me, just know it always gets back to me." Now again, Him referring to that weak shit that's got all you dudes excited, it feels like he's clearly referencing Kendrick's Control verse. So this must have been written right afterwards or in the weeks after that verse dropped. But also where he says this, talking that with your back to me, just know it always gets back to me. I wonder if Kendrick had been whispering or had been saying things about Drake. Maybe it's about the ghostwriting. Maybe it's about his process. Maybe it was something on tour. Maybe there was something that Kendrick saw or Kendrick heard, and maybe Kendrick was telling people, and maybe that got back to Drake. Again, it feels like there's a deeper issue here than just this interview and this verse. But let me know what you guys think in the comments.
The language.
The language, yep.
I mean, that's again, very sharp on the bars. Very.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind that? Like, what made you feel like the statements behind that? Like, what made that record feel
What
right?
statements are you referring to?
Wait, I got some here. I wrote them down. Well, you do a great job when you talk down, like, I don't listen to your new shit. Don't ask for my take on it. Your shit is not that inspiring.
Yeah.
I gotta kill off the weak shit that got y'all excited.
Yep. I'm
It's
good
a
at
very.
that, no?
It's a. You doing it now? You killed him?
No, I mean, like, no, I'm saying, like, I like to get, like, what are you asking exactly? I don't understand.
Well, no, it's the competition in hip hop. I mean, obviously, you know, when you make those kind of records and you're making those statements and you're competing, are you deferring to specific things, or it's just about making the most boldest, strong statement that you can about your craft,
Well,
where you stand?
When I say something, I mean it. You know, like, I'm not just saying it to be like, this sounds cool, I'm gonna write this down. Like, yeah, of course I mean it. Like, it's just like I understand that people need something new to love. That is just natural human, like, desire.
But eventually Drake did an interview with ESPN's Marcellus Wiley and Max Kellerman. It's unknown the exact date, but let's assume that this was either late 2013 or early 2014, so we'll include it in this video for context. But apparently Drake was talking down on Kendrick and little broing him for like 10 minutes straight on this ESPN interview. He said Kendrick's not as good as him, allegedly, and he was actually dissing at him, going at him for real. For the first time publicly on TV like that. In the Elliott interview, a couple of those other interviews, he kind of dismissed Kendrick, but apparently here he was actually like dissing him. Eventually, ESPN got a call from Drake's team that said they are not airing the interview. They actually threatened that Drake wouldn't host the ESPYs the next year if they aired it. So clearly Drake was still feeling a way about either Control or something else with Kendrick, or just how the public was perceiving Kendrick as the guy at the time. But for a second, it sounded like Drake was ready for the smoke. The crazy thing is, in 2017, Marcellus was actually a guest speaker at a USC class that I was at, and I asked him a question about this because he hadn't revealed which one of them it was. I had assumed it was Drake at that time. I asked him basically what Drake had said, and he kind of hinted at what he ended up saying in this interview in 2024, where he said, like, you know, he dissed the guy, but I didn't have a camera, and I also wasn't necessarily a reporter at that time. But it's funny, I didn't record it, but he basically said he wasn't allowed to say everything that happened. But it's funny because it was like a sports media class, so I was the only one clearly asking the rap nerd question, but I'm glad he finally told the story. But besides the Kendrick subs, the album became Drake's biggest success yet. The album ended up selling 658,000 copies in its first week and hit over 1 million in sales in a little over a month later. Like Drake said, back rub for my main thing, I've been stressed out, talking to her like back then they didn't want me, I'm blessed now, talking to her like diss drop, bet 1 million copies get pressed out. She told me, take a deep breath, you're too worried about being the best out. He got those 1 million copies out, and it's funny because you see how stressed he is, even in his bars here, about having the top spot and being the guy for his generation.
Is there a part of you that still even feels uncomfortable of the idea that right now you're in that number one spot? And what that means, like, do you feel like, it's almost like when you're on a rise, to go for it is one thing, but now that you're the champ, to defend the title is a whole other thing. Like, do you feel that way?
It's just like, I don't care about I don't want number one spots. It's just like, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was another guy that was not in the number one spot according to the entire world. And then next week, 2 weeks from now, when somebody else does it, all these discussions about, like I said, number ones and classics, and I don't care. I just want to make good music, and I just want you to enjoy it. And as long as we have that relationship for the duration of this career, I'm good. Like, I don't need to, like, I don't, you know. And maybe that's why people say I'm there, because I disconnect from it. You know, my uncle always told me something early in my life which stuck with me, which is that while you're on the journey, you have to disconnect from the end goal. You know, because if you're just focused on some end goal, then you might get there, But it'll be hard to progress past that because you're so focused on that one destination that it's like, you know, you maybe forget everything in between, and maybe you could have done more in between. Just be, he always told me, like, just be here right now, live right now, and do the best you can right now. Don't worry about what that end goal is. It's great to have goals, it's great to have dreams, but it's just like you get too attached to it, and sometimes it could be a self-destructive thing. So, I mean, I just kind of try and progress as much as I can, like right now, you know?
The album was Drake's most concise body of work, and it became critically acclaimed, with even some of his biggest haters giving in here and saying that they respected Drake as an artist.
I had the best moment of my life the other day. I was at rehearsal, one of the best moments, and like Ghostface Killer called me, and he was like, and he was like, yo, son, like, yo, it's this, you know, and I don't want to out his business, but he was just so real about it that I just got to tell this story because I'm proud. So if he watches this, and I'm sorry, but I got to tell the story. He was like, yo, son, like, you know, it's this guy on Twitter, man, and, you know, he been pretending to be me for a long time and talk down on you, but, yo, you know, like, you're like, yeah, for real. And he was like, yo, like, I just wanted to tell you, like, you know, you're one of my favorite MCs, and to hear that from him, you know, somebody who, I mean, we all have looked up to for so long, and it meant a lot to me because I did take a risk by titling that song what it was, and I remember we had conversations about it initially, like, is this gonna be like, is it gonna stunt the growth of the song or whatever? But for me, I'm always into paying homage. You know, last album it was Practice, and this album that's kind of what Wu-Tang Forever is. I always kind of try to pick a classic hip-hop song and make it my own, you know. It reminds me of sort of the interlude series that I have, like the Bria's interlude. It's kind of that thing, like I sort of found a new groove with that. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it would have been worse than that, really, to be honest. I mean, and I have like a great piece to bring to you guys too, which is just like me and like Wu-Tang Clan all rapping together again, which is dope, so.
To me, it's my personal favorite Drake album. I think that and Take Care are close, but to me, So Far Gone is the intro that made me fall in love with his music. Take Care was solidifying Drake as someone here to stay and having that consistent sound, and Nothing Was the Same to me is the best version of the fusion of melodic and rapping Drake that I think we ever got. But let me know your favorite Drake album in the comments below. But it was also a very vulnerable album in a lot of ways, especially on songs like Too Much, which he even apologized to his mother for on TV before rapping it because of how personal it gets. I remember watching that live for the first time.
Before I do this song, I just want to say to my friends and family, I want the best for everybody, and I love you all.
I definitely wanted to tell more of the story. That was one thing that, you know, another person I know whose opinion I respect very much, I asked them, you know, what's next? What comes next? What would you want to hear from me? And they said to me, you know, I want to hear you give me more of the story. Like, you know, I know great things about you that other people don't know, whether it's, you know, with family, with women, just give me more of your story, get more personal.
More personal.
More personal, yeah. And I think I pushed it to its max on this record. I don't know if there is another step to take after this. I think I'm gonna figure out what's next for me, but there is another evolution for Drake after this, you know, definitely. I don't know if I don't think it's going further. I think you know, I'm gonna make whatever adjustment I end up making. You know, I always like to grow. I always like to grow every record, but I always like to sort of change direction a bit. So with this, it's a lot more, you know, it's a lot more aggressive, it's a lot more confident, and the reflections, I think, are a lot clearer. They're a lot more accurate. So I'm telling stories with details that maybe, you know, I was so caught up while I was making Take Care, maybe I didn't remember these little small details that make you really able to relate to the song.
Let me ask you about the details. In fact, you've said a lot there that I want to come back to, the aggression, the evolution, but in terms of the details, you've said at one point that you'd work on lyrics for one song at a time on this record for 3 weeks at a time?
Yeah.
What's happening in those 3 weeks? What are you working on?
Sometimes I'm working and sometimes I'm just waiting. I write about my life. I don't write stories. A lot of classic rap is storytelling, but it's storytelling about someone else. Fictional stories sometimes. I can't do that. I have to write about my life. So sometimes in order to complete a verse the way I want to, or to finish a second verse on a song when I've already done the first one, I have to allow myself to either live a portion of life that I haven't lived yet, or something has to set in, you know, when it does take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes it's taking longer than that. I mean, I have a song that I still can't figure out the hook for it because, you know, I've just...
And why do you keep it in the bullpen? I mean, there's that famous cliche, I think Elton John, but a few people have said it, where my best songs I've written in 10 minutes, you know?
A lot of my hit songs I've written in a very short period of time. You know, Hold On, We're Going Home, I felt like we finished that in like 2 hours. And some other
So why do you keep
records.
the faith in a song that you've been working on for weeks?
I'm not a guy that does 40 songs for a project and picks 13 of them. If I'm gonna go as far as to track over a beat, I usually have the utmost faith in it that it'll end up somewhere.
Even though Kendrick had the crown during the Control moment, I do feel like, at least to me, the crown was kind of snatched back and forth between the two at this moment. It's like Kendrick might have taken it for a second with Control. He had all the attention. He still had the acclaim from Good Kid, Mad City. But once Drake dropped Nothing Was the Same, he kind of took that back with the success and the acclaim of that album. But you can let me know who you think really had the crown by the end of the year. I think it was kind of like snatched back and forth here. Drake was still clearly the bigger artist, but Kendrick was inescapable for every hip-hop fan, and clearly for Drake too. Less than a month later though, Kendrick replied on his BET Cypher, which to me was the most direct shots he got in the entire beef besides the actual diss songs in 2024. It felt like Kendrick was truly ready for the smoke, and he was aiming pretty directly at Drake with these bars.
I hate y'all. I do anything to replace y'all. Shout out to Face Mob. A ghetto boy till I'm unemployed with a day job. And kicking boxes. I kick ass and then kick knowledge. I'm way more polished than 99% of the scholars you thought had graduated. I'm the master that masturbated on your favorite MC into the industry had wanted me assassinated. You either corny or an opportunist. I let you eat, now go back to church and still practice at communion. What are we doing? I'm about to crack the Da Vinci Code. Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sense of the rapper back in his pajama clothes. Ha ha, joke's on you, high five. I'm bulletproof, your shots will never penetrate. Pin a tail on a donkey, boy, you been a fake. I got my thumb on hip-hop and my foot in the back of your ass. Aftermath, get the last laugh. I serve like Master Jeffrey, jump on his curve, turn a shotty to a verb. If you let me, you know I'm a killer. I'm on your head, you know I'm a killer. The West Coast, Coast to Nostra, under oath till it's over, you're over.
Nothing been the same since they dropped Control. Tuck a sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes. There was a lot of talk about Drake and the way he dressed at the time, and the sweaters being a thing for Drake the year before that people would critique.
So they make fun of the way you dress. They try to clown you on things like that.
Yeah, but it's just like, who am I supposed to dress like? Like I love the way I dress. You know, I feel like I feel comfortable every day. Like, you know, it's like, I'll be honest, like, I don't want to look like these other guys. Like, you know, that's for them. You know, that's their shit. Like, I don't want to look like them, you know. And, yeah, I don't know. That stuff to me is, like, it's just not that serious. Like, it could be way worse. I could be in, like, real trouble. Somebody could be, like, I've said this before in interviews, but, like, man, I get to wake up every day and be myself. I don't wake up, and I'm not sitting here waiting for somebody to be like, man, I hope they don't find out how old I really am, or like, you know, like, oh, I hope that picture from 9 years ago doesn't come out, because that'd be terrible. Like, you know, it's just, I'm good. Like, everything's out in the open. Like, yep, I was on Degrassi. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've worn yes, I wear sweaters. Yes, I wore a throwback Dada outfit, and it was crazy. Like,
Dada.
Yes, I did it. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this is my life. Like, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? This is like.
Next question. What we got? Jesse, who you got?
Right here. B-Dot has a question.
This was clearly a Drake shot. He said, if you want to go there, we can go there. Before the end of the year, Drake did throw shots back on Future's remix, where he told Kendrick that he's bigger in LA than Kendrick is, which may have actually been statistically true at the time in terms of their shows, because Drake was selling out arenas. Drake sold out the Staples Center in LA, whereas Kendrick was opening for Kanye on the Yeezus tour at the same arena, which is also crazy to think about that tour. If you got to see that tour, you are blessed, because we'll never see that again, and that was incredible. But crazy on so many levels. And, you know, ticket sales are one thing, but having your hometown behind you like Kendrick does in LA is a different thing, like we learned in the battle. But speaking of LA, Top Dawg and Punch both replied to Drake's verse by saying, "If this is the best they got, I feel sorry for him, LMAO. The kid made rap fun again. Everybody should thank him, hashtag TDE. And then Punch said, ha 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 ha, that's it? Really?" Kendrick seems to reference this back and forth with Drake on his feature with Fredo Santana, RIP, where he says this: "I got worry on my brain, I've been gone all summer, just to fly back home and found out y'all done killed my little brother. Is effed up in these streets. Why the F would I think about some rap beef? I got bigger fish to fry now. Empty out my account and I'll pay for sleep. Where's my bottle? Money change and people come and people go and act estranged. I'm aggravated because they hate it." Now it's interesting. I don't know exactly who he's speaking about in terms of the money change and people change, or, you know, the people come and go and people act estranged. I don't know if that's a Drake reference specifically, or just an industry reference, or just maybe some other people that we're not aware of, but clearly referencing beef as in his back and forth with Drake at this time. But also, it's kind of a similar sentiment to what he would express in his feature verse on YG's My Crazy Life the following year, where he's talking about like real life that's happening to him and people dying and losing people around him and having to drink to cope, which, if you know Kendrick through his music, that's not a normal thing for him. So, you know, this is actually serious real life stuff that he's dealing with. And I actually hadn't heard this verse up until doing this research. So it's interesting to hear what his perspective was to close this year out. Closing the year off, Drake dropped We Made It with Soulja Boy, which felt like a New Year's anthem. I remember listening to that for the first time. But also on New Year's, or the day before New Year's, he dropped Trophies with Hit Boy, which was actually supposed to be on Nothing Was the Same and ended up being in the trailer for the album. And then he ended up dropping it alongside Young Money for a collective project as a single. I remember this whole time so vividly. Going into the next year, though, in 2014, J. Cole drops Forest Hills Drive and takes the crown from both of them for the first time. That, to me, is Cole's best body of work and a classic album, in my opinion, and I'm excited to get into a bit more of a Cole-focused year. But don't worry, the drama doesn't stop there. There are more bars to dissect in 2014, and I'm really excited for 2015. That year is going to be special. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this year, anything I missed, and what I should get into in the next video. I really do appreciate the fact that you guys are waiting heavily on these videos. I get people messaging me all the time, like, when's the next one dropping? When's the next one dropping? As soon as it is, it'll be available right here, but I'm trying to work on these as fast as I can while also making them as high quality as possible. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next video. Turn your notifications on. Hit the like button, share, and leave a comment, all that good stuff. And if nobody else has told you yet today, I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video. Dream good, live better. Peace.